Greetings Guardians, my name is Bife here. So today there was a rather mysterious message that we intercepted at the end of the season of The Haunted, a message that I'm not sure we were supposed to hear. That message was originally sent by Eris Morn and was addressed to someone who she kept calling Rat. I'm sure Bolted On lore fans know only too well that this was addressed to the Drifter, but the deeper meaning behind it could potentially be revealing as to future points in the lore. So today we're really quickly going to discuss this message that we weren't supposed to hear. Also, a couple of notes before we start. First of all, there will be a sponsor in this video, but I'm going to roll that in just a second. And secondly, there's new audio for this video, and for others going forward. We're doing a few experiments and hopefully this sounds better and it sounds like I'm not talking out of a tin can. If that is the case, go ahead and let me know down below in the comments section. If not, we will go ahead and continue to make adjustments. But first, a word from our sponsors at Keeps. By now, many of you on the channel will know about Keeps, the online subscription service that helps men keep their hair, which is all the better because, according to my YouTube analytics, 95% of my audience is made up of dudes. How about that? Of course, if you're looking at that to be true, then you also need to take it as a fact that 2 out of 3 men, by the time they're age 35, will experience some form of male pattern baldness and hair loss generally. This is where Keeps comes in. Keeps has a network of medical advisors, prescribers, and care specialists to support you in making your hair goals a reality. They'll recommend a treatment plan for you, and it'll come with a year of unlimited messaging so that you can connect with their 24/7 support team of doctors and medical advisors, and all sorts of other professionals. And even better, Keeps is delivered straight to your door, and it means that you don't have that awkward conversation with the pharmacist. Yeah, we all know what that feels like, I'm sure. Or maybe 2 out of 3 of us will. Hair loss stops with Keeps. To get 50% off your first order, go to keeps.com/bife or click the link in the description. That's keeps.com/bife. Thank you very much to Keeps for sponsoring this video. Anyway, let's get back to the lore. So this message can be found in the helm from the terminal to the right of the Crown of Sorrows. You have to complete the seasonal story if you're going to have this message show up. Let's take a listen to it.
I received your last message. Whatever reckless plan brings you to the reef need not be shared with the Vanguard or the Guardian, but keep me informed at the very least. Those haunted here have found a measure of peace, but it takes more than resolve to overcome one's regrets. We have both felt it. How a moment of pain can weave into the whole of our lives. How it binds us to patterns of thought and action. I have stared into the eyes of my pain made manifest, pleaded with it, raged at it. What face would your nightmare wear? For so long, I believed peace was beyond my reach. No more. I have found it in guiding others down the same path that saved me. But I might allow myself to want more than peace. What? I am not certain. Is joy the word? Might I find that again? You told me to live my life. There is more truth in you than either of us would care to admit. I have something that will be of interest to you. The Lunar Pyramid remains rife with secrets. Meet with me, and we will discuss what I have found. Take care, Rat.
So there's clearly a lot to unpack there. I think the really odd thing is that we really don't know what the Drifter's mission in the reef is. Knowing his connections there, we have a few possibilities that could be highlighted, but I think it's more than likely that he's working on something with a certain set of seedier characters. It's unclear if the Spider was relocated to somewhere else in the reef, but if he was, perhaps that's where the Drifter was going. It's also worth noting that there are other key assets in the reef that can potentially be connected to the Drifter through other means. The one key asset that comes to mind is one that is very much related to the Nine. You see, out there in the reef there is a strange space platform that's referred to as a few different things, including Object A113, Cocytus, or the Cocytus Apertures. Essentially, this space houses a gateway that has allowed the Nine to send through certain subjects that have communicated with us in the past. These subjects might have started as just stains worth of grey matter and organic blobs of living material that died upon contact with the real world, but it seems very clear that if you pass through the gateway and go to the other side, you will be connected to the Nine, even if you are to become incorporeal. Now, there is a link between the Nine and the Drifter, given that he used to know the emissary of the Nine in her life before she was the emissary, back when she was a Guardian. Given the scattered bits and pieces of what we know about the Drifter, it makes me wonder if he's trying to reach out to the Nine again, using the techniques that we've learned during our time in this season. After all, the discovery that Egregore can open one's consciousness and link minds together is one that might be worth investigating alone when it comes to the Nine, a group of disembodied consciousnesses, or consciousness, I'm not sure how you quite class it with beings like this, that is all connected to dark matter and the sort of negative space of the universe. It's a very interesting, strange, fundamental concept. It does make me wonder why it is that Eris Morn stated that neither we nor the Vanguard should know about this mission. It seems to imply that there are stakes which would interest us all, but the reasons as for why there might be stakes there are unknown to us at current, and the nebulous nature of those stakes is genuinely worrying. I don't see why the Drifter might want to hide this from us, but I can only imagine that it's a little nefarious in one manner or another. I think the last part of the message, where Eris informs the Drifter that there is something on the moon that might be of interest to him, warrants a little bit more attention than it's getting. And I don't know what this might be. There's a whole variety of possibilities, and there's one in particular that I want to discuss. It is possible that this is something more to do with the Egregore, which Eris and the Drifter had experimented on in this season. It's also possible that this is something to do with the powers of the darkness, which, of course, Drifter and Eris have both had some access and contact with, considering that they're members of the Dark Vanguard, as it's so called. And Drifter has made it very clear that he has no qualms with using the powers of darkness to survive. I think, however, the most fascinating and easily the most out-of-left-field possibility is a connection that can be drawn between the lore of this season and the lore of the Drifter's own rantings from back in Forsaken, and the potential of a connection to a figure that everyone is going to look at me sideways for mentioning, Nezarec. Hear me out on this one. The connections are very much tangential, but it gets a little bit strange. To explain things very quickly, if you've never heard of Nezarec, I have a video going over Nezarec that you guys can watch again. It's from the beginning of this season, so it's very much up to date. Long story short, it seems as though Nezarec has some kind of strange tangential connection to the Witness, although this is very hard to confirm. They have always been a very mysterious name in the back of Destiny's lore since the beginning of Destiny 2 Year 1. During a conversation that Shin Malphur once had with the Drifter stated that he had, quote, been to the fourth tomb of Nezarec. Now, at the time, Shin Malphur believed that the Drifter was telling half-truths and lies and made up myths just to pique his interest and to ensure that he was still around. But now, I'm not so sure if that initial assessment by Shin is correct. You see, I think here we've got to look again at Nezarec's Whisper, the new Archglaive that was released this season. It reveals something really interesting within its lore tab, so I'm going to go ahead and read that again for you all. Take a listen. Wisps of soul fire swirl amid the geometric growths of stasis that jut from the dusty cavern floor. The sundered remains of Hive Knights and Thrall frozen within the crystals. Detritus of the recent battle crunches under Eris's boots. Ahead, the stark angles of the lunar pyramid rise before her. Red phantoms hang in the air and shimmer like specks of dust against its enormity. Raising her Ahamkara bone to her lips, Eris blows across its surface as if she were extinguishing a tiny candle. The world around her blurs and bends, and then she is elsewhere. the heart of the pyramid. A veiled statue towers over Eris, vaguely feminine in form, though she is not convinced of its Apophenian silhouette. She raises her soulfire-shrouded Ahamkara bone again. Stasis encrusts its surface, much as it had years ago when she first harnessed such power. Eris turns to inspect the vast interior of the pyramid. It is quiet. It is dead, not unlike the one in Savathun's throne world. Her eyes narrow. She clutches the Ahamkara bone in her hand again, and she is elsewhere. A chamber. It is cavernous. It is dark. Strange, bisected statues of stratified minerals line the cathedral-like walls and culminate at the far end before a yawning opening that empties into perpetual nothingness. On the floor, a length of unidentifiable metal caked in centuries of dust catches her eye. A glaive. Eris lifts it into her hand. Striations of red illuminate on its surface and throb like a heartbeat. The glaive's power feels faint, distant, and yet an ember of something terrible still burns within. "Where are you?" Eris whispers into the air. There is no reply. So I don't know about all of you, but I think Eris's description of the final room she enters into perfectly matches what we saw in the last mission of the Season of the Haunted, namely the interior of the Chantry of the Darkest Hour, the area where we meet Keitel and battle Callus. We've got the bisected and stratified statues as we enter, lining the walls to the left and right, and the space beyond fills out into perpetual nothingness. It's also worth noting that the walls are cathedral-like in a certain sense. They very much do match the description, and even the name of the Chantry of the Darkest Hour is something that is indeed cathedral-like in its naming origin. Both are places of worship and have some kind of religious significance. I think it's here, in this place where we defeated Callus, that Eris might have found Nezarek's Whisper, the new glaive, and I think she's showing this to the Drifter because he's had some kind of past experience with the fourth tomb of Nezarek. It's very much a long shot, but that's my best current working theory. Although, keep in mind, knowing the way that my theories tend to work out, either they're spot on or, most of the time, they just happen to be odd connections that are tangential and not truly related. Although, at current I'm not entirely sure what else the Lunar Pyramid would have to do with the Drifter other than this, Egregor, and the potential links to darkness. But Nezarek is a story thread that might bind them all together. It's a long shot, but again, my best current working theory. For now though, the purpose of the Drifter and Eris remains very much unclear, but I definitely remember this just like I'd remember the secret of Rasputin's Nefele stronghold that was referred to last season. I think that both of these notes are going to play into the future and will give us an idea of something that is going to happen in a season not too far away. Who knows what dark secrets the Drifter and Eris Morn are starting to uncover. But that's all from me for now. Thank you so much for sitting through and watching the video. If you enjoyed it, go ahead and leave a like. Also, do let me know about the new audio quality. Let me know all of the quirks. Are there things that we need to adjust? Are there things we need to change? My hope is that generally speaking this is better than what we had before. And I do believe that it is, but even so, I just want to go ahead and make sure there aren't too many more things that we could change. I'll be perusing the comments section and looking through all of this as time goes on. Of course, if you do want more Destiny lore videos, and if you thought that the audio was worthy of them, go ahead and hit the subscribe button and the bell next to subscribe to turn on those email notifications. But as per usual, know that your viewership is quite enough for me, and that in the meantime, my name is Byf. Rodacia ad Astra. I'll see you, Starside.